Welcome to the latest episode of Branding the Experience, where we discuss ways how we can create environments where employees actually want to come to work and customers want to keep coming back. Hi, I'm Ken Bader, your host for Branding the Experience, and we finally are getting back to getting guests. I apologize. You're probably tired of hearing all of my stuff. So I get somebody that is at least as smart, if not smarter than me. And we have a great guest today. Her name is Lorraine Duncan. She is the founder of Biz Gone Social. She is the podcast host of the podcast of the same name. She is the author of Shout It Out, and she is the LinkedIn or a LinkedIn super ninja. Maybe we'll dig into that a little bit. Lorraine, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. Great to be here.
Oh, my pleasure. Well, I got to start with a very serious and deep question, which is, does America really run on Duncan?
They do, especially especially the Biz Gone Social Duncan.
See, you never get asked that, do you?
No, but every once in a while, people will a few people will tease me about it every once in a while. Except I always point out that it's all about spelling, because I spell mine, like as Tim Duncan, the greatest basketball player ever. No, not really, but
I'm from Chicago. It's Michael Jordan, but go ahead.
That's true. That's true. Or, with a K. And it's so funny how many people will spell my last name with a K and then I never talk to them again. That's just usually the routine.
Well, yeah, that's just normal. Yeah. Well, I'm a great fan of Dunkin' Donuts, and I'm sure I'm going to be a great fan of Lorraine Duncan. But let's dig into, I was looking on your website, and one of the fun branding pieces that I saw there about your business is you said that social media is my happy accident. Dig into that for a little bit, would you?
Yeah. So, really quickly, because I don't want to spend too much time on it. I worked at a hospital for a good 8 years. And then when I had my fourth child, that was my tipping point. So I stayed home for a little bit as I was playing Fairfield County taxi cab mom. And literally, once my youngest went to school, I was ready and anxious to get back to work. But I didn't want to be, I just didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up. So literally, this is crazy, but I was at a wedding and there were all the people that we sat with. You know how you usually sit with people you know? Well, this time we did not sit with people we knew. And they were a bunch of disgruntled business owners. And it saddened me because I was actually just answering, well, why don't you try this? Or why don't you try this? And my husband, full disclosure, is a plumbing contractor. And I've done his marketing for years and helped him with his business over the years. And literally, I mean, all the stuff I know is from, helping him run his business. But he's the true gem as it is because he's really brilliant at running a business. Long story short, somebody said to me, why don't you look into becoming a consultant? And so I looked in that and I didn't want to go back to school for another 4 years. So somehow I got in the space of coaching and I got my certification in coaching. And then hence I had a business called Footpath Business Coaching and literally grew my business with social media. And so therefore I literally switched and I can still, here's the beauty of it. I can still help people with their social media marketing and managing, right? And it's the same problem. It's not people's services or products that are bad. It's their mindset. So I do both. It's like, okay, well, how are we going to portray that? What is the problem? What is the pain point here? I mean, because everybody has a pain point that's going to cause you to buy your product.
Exactly. Yeah, I might be one of those disgruntled business owners, but I haven't gone to any weddings or sat on any tables lately, which is probably a good thing. But I remember reading, I don't know if it was on your LinkedIn profile or your website, you talked about how, you used to run from networking group to a networking meeting and you talked about BNI, and I'm not a huge BNI fan. It's like, Nazi party for business people. You will be here at 7 a.m. and you will not be late. And if you miss 2 meetings, you're out. You're out. Boom. And that was, not very effective. I can remember before COVID, and I haven't gone to an actual in-person networking event since that time. But I remember, you'd go and you'd eat, some stale bruschetta, and then, you'd all of a sudden you would talk to six people, five of which are all selling insurance, and then the other one is a realtor. Nothing against insurance salespeople and realtors, but not what I need for my business necessarily. And then you went to social media and you found more success on that. Yeah, give us a little bit of an insight into the dynamic of creating a relationship and communicating via social media versus an in-person event full of insurance salespeople.
Yeah, it's a little different. So, I mean, full disclosure, I still do tons of networking,
Hmm.
and my closing rate with person, meeting somebody in person as opposed to on Zoom is a lot higher. And so basically, the difference is this, you walk into a room, right? And it depends on what kind of networking. So I'll give an example so that everybody probably could relate to the notorious Chamber of Commerce meeting, okay, where you have 18 web designers, 13 social media specialists, about 100 real estate, finance, and so
Hmm.
on and so on. And you kind of mentioned that earlier in the conversation. But here's the thing, you meet one person at that networking event. And this was my strategy always, and I think this could help people out there, is that so at that point, when we were meeting in person, we'd collect business cards. So it was kind of like trick or treating for business cards. Oh, this is fun. This is fun. Look at how many business cards I got today. I must be in business. But no, seriously. So I always wear pants and I wear jeans. I'm a jean girl and I can because I do social media.
Hmm.
And so literally I'm right-handed. So the cards that went in my right pocket were people who I wanted to contact in the
Hmm.
future, not necessarily for business, but that they were cool people and I wanted to get to know them more.
Hmm.
People who went in my left pocket, and I'm worried about disclosing this because I'm back to this again. Um, I really have no desire, or they really can't help me in any
Yeah.
way. So then move fast forward to social media. It's great. Where else can you be on, like, what I have about, like, my social media platforms altogether are about over 12,000 people.
Hmm.
So, and I can say that I honestly met most of those people. So my LinkedIn people, and I was an open networker, and I still sort of am, but I think I have myself as a lie, and I'm going to remove that
Hmm.
because I do have criterias of meeting people, but it all starts with a conversation. Here's what the real issue is. People don't like social media because you go on LinkedIn and you look at your message box, and excuse my language here because it's true. It's like literally you just connect with them. Okay.
Hmm.
And I take the time to write a nice connection note, usually, unless it's like, hey, let's just connect on LinkedIn and then talk there.
Hmm.
However, like, I'll connect with somebody and all of a sudden I'll get 18 paragraphs of buy my shit. And
Hmm.
seriously, you know what I'm saying? It's like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? And so I actually unfollow, I can disconnect with those type of
Hmm.
people. I can't do the 18 paragraphs anymore. It would be like if I met you for the first time and went blah blah, kind of like the Charlie Brown teacher, and
Hmm.
blah 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 blah, because you don't have nobody has the bandwidth for that anymore.
Yeah.
So a brief introduction, if you need to be, like, it's like on LinkedIn, it's just, hey, I see that I usually could try to connect with somebody I've met already. So,
Hmm.
hey, we met at this business meeting, or hey, I met you in the grocery store line. That happens, by the way.
Hmm.
And, let's connect here on LinkedIn. And then we connect, and then I look at their profile. Oh man, I see that you went to Sacred Heart University. Well,
Hmm.
or and you start a conversation. So hence the coffee cup in my branding logo.
Hmm.
And literally, because it's a relationship. If you think that you can go on the social media platforms and just start, selling your stuff, It's
Mhm.
like just screaming, buy, 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 buy. Nobody's gonna buy. They're gonna say bye bye to you.
Yeah.
It's like they're not gonna do that. So what's great about it is that I don't have to, like, if I was going to a business meeting, right? Literally, I have to drive. Okay.
Mhm.
I
Especially
have
with gas prices today.
absolutely, and boo for the electric cars because it's literally, it's like seriously, it's really not going to save the economy at all. And most of them caught on fire last summer, so they better fix that. Just saying. But I think that what people don't realize, and that's what I'm about relationships. It's really
Mhm.
important to me. All my clients, I consider my friends. I mean, literally, and I treat their business like it's my own business.
Mhm.
And so when moving into social media, which is a very hard, it's really a hard profession to be in
Yeah.
because really there is not, unless you're doing hard advertising campaigns, literally there is no return of investment.
Mhm.
It's a very hard place to be because it's like literally, and then when you do the advertising campaigns and then Facebook changes the algorithm or changes,
Yep.
like I literally can't, there's some people I can't even work for anymore if I'm going to do advertising
Mhm.
because literally they won't let me hone into them.
Yeah.
They won't let me dig deep down into into them, which is kind of a sad thing. But I mean, that's basically why social media is so much better. You can meet people, you can start a conversation.
Mhm.
Literally, I've been on LinkedIn, and that's my favorite platform, by the way.
Mhm. Mine
I
too.
spend, I spend more time on Facebook and Instagram, but LinkedIn is I'm very precise and I do great networking there. If you have a business and you're not on LinkedIn, you're missing out.
Mhm.
And I can help anybody with that.
Yeah. Yeah, going back to branding, one of the things I tell my clients all the time is that, your parents were wrong. People do judge a book by its cover. And we could talk about how unfortunate that is or what have you, but the point that I make is that if they see your logo, they see your first message, they see, they feel that wet fish handshake at one of those god awful chamber meetings, that's going to be the first impression, and that's going to be a negative right from the start. And what I see, especially in LinkedIn, but throughout social media, is these folks with these can type of connection processes. It's ridiculous because, in full disclosure, I get probably about 5 to 6 connection requests a day. Yeah, and that's not an exaggeration. I don't have as big a connection list as you. I think it's about half, maybe 6, 7,000. But I get about 5 a day. And, right from the start, some of them don't even have a message in their connection. Yeah, and that's delete, delete, delete. Or they'll have this canned crap. In fact, I saw one, and I don't know who this, I won't mention the business, but it's a financial advisory business. Where, I got like 6 connections in requests in like 10 days, and it was all with the same message in the connection. I actually stupidly connected to one, and then I got the canned, hey, let's talk about your financial future type of crap. So I literally, out of about 5 connections a day, I probably accept maybe 1 or 2 connections a month at best because I vet that and I don't need that crap. So from that standpoint, how do you stand aside from those clowns, that I'll use very bluntly? How do you, right from the start, you've never met anybody, but you've never met this person before, but you have a legitimate need, or you have a legitimate, as you said, you could see the possible pain point and say, you know what, I may be able to help this individual. I would like to connect and not turn this person off, but truly create a relationship right from the start. How do you brand yourself properly in those connection requests?
Well, there's a lot of things. One of the biggest things, and I think I'm only going to really talk about one, because it's one
Perfect.
of my pet peeves, is that when you're reaching out to somebody, so say, you go on and you want to reach out to real estate agents, okay?
Hmm.
And take the time when you look at their name, take the time to look at really what they do.
Hmm.
Because first of all, there's a difference between an agent and a broker.
Hmm.
So you have to know that. And if you want to talk about really growing somebody's brokerage and grow, that way, or doing like lunch and learns there or whatever, you need to like make sure you're connecting with the right person.
Hmm.
And so the biggest example of what not to do is all the time I get a lot more connection requests than you do. And I take my good old time with especially some of them. Like I can help you with your social media marketing. Did you like even did you even like even look at my
Hmm.
profile at all? Do you know what my business
Yeah.
is?
And by the way, that's my hobby. When somebody does something that stupid, as you just described to me, is I will actually send a message back that in my Chicago way, basically tell them how stupid they are. But continue.
And then I'll just mention one other thing that's really key is if you're bringing the conversation, so you reach out and connect. Hey, I met you at
Hmm.
the, on Score at a Score. I do a lot of speaking for Score, so
Hmm.
it's I do a lot of volunteer work. And I say I met you at Score. I would love to connect with you here on LinkedIn. And usually they always do.
Hmm.
And then for that particular conversation, I usually reach back out and I usually tell them when I connect, some people connect with me from it. I usually tell them, like, if you reach out to me and connect, I will send you something
Hmm.
that will help you in your business.
Yeah, that's nice.
So I always like usually when I connect with somebody else that has is not from one of my speaking engagements, usually I send them, I look, I look to see what they're doing.
Hmm.
So if they're I don't know, a coach, a business coach, I will send them usually a Forbes article on how to use social media for business
Hmm.
coaches. Something current and relevant that's not from me, so I'm not pitching me
Right.
here. And it's like, is there any way, if there's anything that I can do to help you, or would you like to just grab a call and see how we can help each other?
Hmm.
And usually people want to, grab a call. Some don't, and that's
Hmm.
fine. And it's kind of, it's like, remember, we're not going from dating here to the first kiss.
Yeah.
So even though that's changed a little bit in this culture today, but back in my day, there was a period. I'm just saying, it's just like it's not like friends with benefits or anything like that.
Yeah. Yeah. They didn't have that when I was in my 20s either, but continue.
Oh, I can go on and on about that, but that's not what the show's about. But what I
Yeah.
was going to say is that you get to the call and be and say who you're going to be. So like
Yeah.
if we're getting to know each other, I'm not getting to the call and I'm pitching you.
Hmm.
And I don't think anybody should be pitching anybody in those messages. And I think
Correct.
that's a big mistake. And then this was the biggest, worst thing that ever happened to me on LinkedIn was, and I have to share it, is I connected with somebody. They wanted to get to know, this is what they said, I want to get to know a little bit about your business.
Hmm.
So if that's the case, in your mind, in my mind, I'm thinking, oh, I'm going to just share how I got started, just kind of like how we started today, right?
Hmm.
You know? And then all of a sudden, I get to the Zoom call and there's three people. There's me and another person and that person.
Hmm.
And it's their upline and they're trying to sell me something. You don't understand. It's like I have there's a tedious part of my job where I manage
Hmm.
social media. So I fulfillment to do. So when I take 30 minutes out of my day to make a call with somebody, I'm expecting to get some value out of it too.
Right.
So I don't know. And I think that's the biggest mistake people are making on LinkedIn. And it saddens me because I feel that they could really, some of them are really nice people and they could really knock it out of the park.
Yeah, yeah, there's a big thing in, when I wrote for Podcast Magazine, one of the biggest words was authenticity.
Yeah.
And and granted, I probably made some of the mistakes in full disclosure that you talked about in trying to sell too quickly. But I will say this, when somebody actually comes on a Zoom or meets me, they're not going to see anything different than what's come in my messages. There is much like we did today. We had a conversation that wasn't much different, if at all, before I pressed the record button. If I was jovial and friendly in the portion beforehand, and then I grilled you with some real curveball type of questions, you'd be upset and pissed, and you'd be right because that wouldn't be authentic. That wouldn't align with who I represented myself at the beginning. And I think that if there's only one thing that watchers take from this episode is that authenticity, that it begins with that first connection or that first message, that isn't a throwaway.
Yeah, and you said it very clearly, is a lot of people, they're different. They're different online than they
Yeah.
are in public, and it's scary. It's like, especially, I remember when I used to go to these trade shows out in California, in San Francisco and San Jose, and literally I would, like, I'd see who was kind of, sometimes they'd send you a roster of like who's going to be there, and I'd go on their LinkedIn, and then I'd be looking for these people, and I realized that they had their like 20-year-old picture and they're actually 55. Like, let me tell you something, I would love to use my 20-year-old picture. Just
Yeah. Yeah, me too. I had hair at one time. Uh, but
me too, me too.
as we
Really a wig,
Yeah, I don't believe in wigs, but I did do my hair this morning, by the way. It looks very shiny.
Awesome.
As we begin to wind down a little bit, one question I wanted to ask, and actually will, is you wrote a book called Shout It Out. And as a fellow author, I always love to talk about people's books and writing them and so forth. Tell us a little bit more about Shout It Out, what it's about, and what people could get out of that book.
Yeah, it's basically a social media guide for small business owners. And so I do a little bit tips and tricks and stuff like that. And it was written in 2018, and a lot has changed.
Yeah.
In my mind, I'm probably going to do an update, because some of that stuff probably isn't even relevant, but I tried to add some stories in there that were fun. Like I talk about, getting married is like social media, and I did some fun stuff in there, or social media is like getting a flat tire, just the stuff you have to do to fix the tire. And so I used relatable stories,
Yeah.
and I tried. It was a very great experience. I self-published, and I learned, it's a new theme this year, so I'm just going to share it because I think it would be helpful for everyone. I didn't know anything about publishing a book, so I did it all on my own. And I feel like you always, whenever you're doing something, if you're going to try out Facebook or you're going to try out TikTok, you've got to learn. So I don't call it losing. My new thing for this year is win and then learn. There is no win lose, and I'm very competitive, and so in my mind there's always been a winner and a loser. But I've kind of reframed that a little bit in my life and realized that, hey, you know what, how many people say they're going to write a book and never do?
Yep.
To win. How many people can say that, and it's like, remember, nobody remembers anything but number one in book writing. I made it to number 3. How many people could even say they made it to number 3?
Right.
And so these are things that I'm proud of, but mostly I wrote the book out of a way to, like, if I'm, have a speaking engagement or something, that if somebody wanted to, read a little bit more and study a little bit more, they could learn something. So I am going to be updating the book, and I don't know when that update will occur because I'm actually writing another book right now.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, for those folks out there that want to find Shout It Out, they want to find you, they want to find Biz Gone Social, they want to send you a blind connection and hear all about your business and then bring other people on the Zoom, how best can they find you out there?
Well, I mean, one thing you can do is you can, use the QR code and it will bring you to my link tree, and it has a bunch of links on it. One of them has my website.
Awesome.
And every month, it will be too late for this month, but every month I do have webinars, free webinars, where you can learn a little bit more. If you're one of those do-it-yourselfer social media people, I always welcome you all to come, and but you can always do that. And I do, for those of you who are really interested in diving deeply into LinkedIn, I do have a course called LinkedIn 13 minutes a day, because the biggest thing I always hear is I don't have time to be on social media. That's like the biggest thing. Oh, I don't have time. I'm so overwhelmed with what I have to do. And really, people really want to do what they're passionate about.
Correct.
So literally 13, I grew my LinkedIn with basically 13 minutes a day. And I do not have triskaidekaphobia. So just saying, I love the number 13. That's why 13 minutes a day on LinkedIn, definitely a great course. And it's very interactive. And all my webinars, by the way, are interactive. So go on my site. There's a couple freebies. And as far as my book, I'll just say this. I never changed the price on it. So it's still 99 cents. It's hysterical.
Nice.
The best 99 cents. And it's really, I mean, is it really a book? It's a PDF, and but what I was going to say is, if you're an Amazon Prime member, you don't even have to pay 99 cents. So definitely,
Which I am.
go on and grab it, and you can get some laughs out of how dated the material is.
Yeah. Well, you could probably put out a social media book today and it'll be outdated in July, the way things go. But even if you're not an Amazon Prime member, it's worth the 99 cents. Go ahead and grab it. Go and check out Biz Gone Social. Click on that QR code, learn more about Lorraine Duncan, as well as her business and all the great knowledge that she has. Lorraine, thank you so much for being here today. I had a lot of fun.
Great, me too. And thank you for having me.
My pleasure. And thank you to all of you who have watched this particular episode of Branding the Experience. And here's hoping, as always, that you're branding the experience at a very high level for all those you serve. Do you need a speaker for your next conference? Maybe a facilitator for your next strategic planning or training session? A full program with expert panelists and interactive exercises for attendees? Or maybe you need an MC for your next event. I'm here to help and have the expertise to be a part of an amazing agenda for your audience. Learn more about beta training and consulting at www.btcinc.net, or better yet, just contact me directly at kbader@btcinc.net, and let's talk about your next event, next training session, or next summit.